deliver a clean road transport system for Europe. And before I will go and introduce this very interesting panel to you, I would like to invite you to please go on Slido. So use the QR code on your smartphone, or go to the Slido app, or go to slido.com, and please type in the event code for this session, which you also see on the screen. It's hashtag RIDaysWS11. And then I would really like to start with a little warm-up, and we would be very interested to hear from you what you think is the biggest challenge towards achieving clean road transport by 2030. So could you please give in one word your views on what you see as the biggest challenge for the European Union to achieve a clean road transport by 2030? And I already see some results coming in. So congratulations on the first participant giving affordability. I see price, politics, CO2 reduction. Very good. I think we are really warming up here. I leave it open still for a few seconds to really see what you think is the biggest challenge that we are facing before we go with the introduction of our wonderful panelists of this morning. And of course, the clean road transport will be extremely important for the achievement of our ambitions that we have set ourselves in the European Green Deal. And that is, of course, as you all know, to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And in the Smart Sustainable Mobility Strategy, we have set ourselves some very important interim milestones that we basically want to achieve on our way to 2050 climate neutrality. And the partnerships representatives that we will hear from today will be very, very crucial and play a very important role on our pathway to climate mobility. So I see indeed, thank you very much for all the input. So I see that mindset and also price have been identified by you, the audience, as one of the biggest challenges that we are facing towards the clean road transport. I see that there's still words coming in, so please continue. But I would like to move now to presenting our dear panelists of today. Please also use the Slido if you have any questions during this session for the panelists, because we will also have a Q&A session later on. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you our panelists. I will start with our first panelist, Edel Sheridan. She's representing the European Industrial Battery Value Chain Partnership. Edel, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Edel is a senior researcher with more than 15 years of experience in batteries, so she's really Mrs. Battery. Edel has been participating in many European initiatives linked to batteries, also including the SET plan. And Edel is the leader for the strategic development on batteries, an organization called SINTEF, and also a member of the executive board of BEPA, which is the Batteries European Partnership Association, which is basically representing the private side of the batteries partnership. And Eden, is also very interesting that you grew up on an Irish farm and that you love nature, and Eden is also capable of driving a tractor. So wondering, Eden, how you will basically combine this on our way to the zero road transport. With a very warm welcome, pleasure to have you. And maybe as a warm-up, Eden, if you could start telling us what you think is the main role and aim of the battery partnership, and why is it so important and so relevant today?
Thank you very much, Rosalinda, for the very kind introduction. Indeed, yes, the role of the battery partnership has really been developed very recently. But it has to be said, in the last few years, there has been a lot of development and a lot of momentum building in the area of battery technology. But the role of the battery partnership here is really to bring together the battery community with the EU Commission and across the entire value chain, because the battery value chain is quite broad. And we really have to focus our European R&I resources at developing and delivering the next generation of batteries, because they must have sustainability at heart, but they also need to be cost competitive. So this point that a lot of people bring up about affordability is very, very important. Also, it's not only to deliver sustainability and competitive batteries. We also are looking at growing this battery industry within Europe. Currently, about only 1% of the batteries produced globally are produced in Europe, but this is changing rapidly. So it is very, very important that the battery cell production be grown in Europe. And it is expected by 2030 that 1.3 million people will be directly employed in the battery industry. This will have a huge ripple effect because indeed it supports the automotive industry and many other of the mobility industries. And we are seeing this becoming a reality, particularly in the country I live in Norway, where we see EVs very much being taken up, and we see electrification in the maritime sector, for example, in a lot of the ferry crossings. So it's a very interesting time to be working here. We see a lot of momentum. Of course, also there is the energy sector, and providing the energy sector with the flexibility is very important as we go towards building up more and more renewables in our system. But they need to have some storage. And the batteries will be one of the solutions here, but there will be other solutions also that will complement, such as hydrogen, for example. So we are seeing this real transition, but we do need R&I really to support this transition. We need to have the competitive edge and we need to have sustainability. And these are the focuses of the partnership. The partnership is really addressing also the many cross-cutting issues, because there are many topics that we need to hold space for discussion in the battery industry and in other industries. So the intent in the battery partnership is to work with other partnerships, identifying specific areas that need really to be addressed and to provide the means to address these areas. And there is already an initiative with the Battery Partnership and the 2.0 Partnership on this, looking particularly at the LCA of the battery and the cars. So that already we have started to do something here, and we see there are many, many other sectors. I think it's very important that the partnerships and the industries really need to have this close connection. They need to talk about the expectations for the future and also the cost level and how we're going to impact one another. So the battery partnership is really focusing on this and bringing the community together. So already we have 165 members engaged, and the partnership has only really been established only a couple of months ago. So this is really a huge momentum we're seeing already behind. And the real aim and the long-term kind of goal is we want to boost the competitiveness, the sustainability and the circularity of the battery value chain, the entire way across the value chain. And to prepare and equip European industry to commercialize and deliver the next generation batteries. This will involve looking at both short-term and long-term initiatives. You cannot just look at one or the other. You must have both. This is a very, very important factor. You also need to have continuity and you need to have very intense collaboration to make this happen. So if I was to say, in 2030, what do we want to have achieved? What do we want to look back and see? We want to see that we have one of the best, the world's best R&I ecosystem for battery technology. This is really what we want to have achieved, where we have truly competitive and sustainable battery production in Europe and integration into systems and usage. What we expect to see, or I will expect to see, is to see our transport system completely rejuvenated, utilizing zero emission technologies. We already see this. The country I'm living in, Norway, we see a huge uptake of EV, and I see the point mindset has come up many times. This is very true. The mindset is very, very important, and of course we must develop the technology. It must be at a price competitive point. It has to be affordable, but we also need to really change our mindset in some aspects to really encourage and accelerate this, this transition. So these are the areas that really the battery partnership is addressing. So that kind of gives you a brief overview, I hope, of the targets of the partnership and what we are working on.
Excellent, Ido. Thank you so much. And I think you already raised so many valuable points, looking at the whole value chain, also looking not only, of course, at the emission reduction, but also at the competitiveness, the sustainability, circularity, and very good to hear that you are already working together with the 2.0 partnership that is looking at the zero emission road transports. So let's quickly move on to Stefan Neugeboer. Who is our car guy today. Very warm welcome, Stefan. So you are basically the main pen holder of the 2.0 partnership, and it's a real pleasure to have you on our panel this morning. You're very busy, Stefan, because you're also chairing, I'm told, the European Green Vehicle Initiative, and also ETRAC, which is the European Road Transport Advisory Council. And then on top of all that, you're also director for the Global Research Corporation at BMW Group. I don't know how you combine all this, but I'm also told, Stefan, that apart from being our car guy this morning, you also spend a lot of time in forest and that you're actually a hobbyist forester. So that's very impressive. And of course, we also need sustainability to keep our forests healthy. And I'm sure that you'll find a way to combine these two passions of yours. So very warm welcome. So I would also like to know from you, Stefan. So if we look at the partnership that you are working with, the Towards Zero Emission Road Transport Partnership, what do you see as the key role and also the aim of these partnerships, and why is this partnership so important for Europe at this moment in time?
Thank you, Rosalinda. Yes, you are absolutely right. You can see that sustainability is really in the heart of our community. And we want to achieve the balance between the individual mobility for citizens and for European people and goods. And on the other side, we want to achieve the climate neutral road transport. This is our fully agreed target. And we are talking about a long-term race. Why? Because we also have an existing fleet. And when we imagine what will we see in 2030, 50% of the vehicles which are today on the road will be on the road also in 2030. So the change in the existing fleet needs some time. But in the new vehicle registration, here we think we will see a significant change towards alternative powertrains and towards zero emission powertrains and vehicles. And here we have to convince the customers, the users, that zero emission vehicles are useful for them. And we have to convince them, because we in Europe, we are proud that we are living in a free society and not in a state controlled society. So at the end, we have to convince them. And how can we convince the users? By making a good offer. And this good offer needs to be done by technical improvements. We have to improve the technique. We have to improve the system so that the consumers really say, yes, now it's working for us. And here we saw many good points in the Slido. The first word was affordability. I think this is really absolutely crucial, affordability. And this is the job we have to do in research and innovation, and we have to do in industry to bring to the market solutions which are better than we have today. We have to work on the costs, we have to work on the affordability, we have to use on the performance, and this is what we have to do. But this is only the perspective from the vehicle. In our Towards Zero partnership, and this is really a very good thing, we have the system approach. And I'm very happy that we discussed from the very beginning, and we had been aligned with the European Commission from the very beginning, that we need a system approach. And this means not to look only at the vehicle, but also to look at the infrastructure. And if there is not a sufficient infrastructure, we will not convince anybody to buy a battery electric vehicle or a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle if the infrastructure is not there. And then we need the close link to the energy infrastructure, because at the end, it's most important which energies do we have and how can we deliver the energy, produce the energy in Europe or deliver energy to Europe. So this system approach is also in the core of the Towards Zero partnership. So I'm quite convinced that this partnership will deliver and will help to bring new innovation or innovative technologies to the development and to the market at the end. Will there be a breakthrough? I'm not sure, because all the things we are working on, we worked on them for many, many years, and we still have to improve them. And by improving many, many, many small things, we can achieve a big improvement. And so the breakthrough will be the market uptake of zero emission technologies. And this is where I'm quite sure that we can deliver together with all the partners in industry and in the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Very good to hear the system approach. And we heard from Idel that the batteries, they have the value chain approach. But it's very good that we are looking at the whole system, the whole chain, because in the end, indeed, what we want is that our users, the citizens, will have the choice also to go to more sustainable mobility transport modes. So very good, and thank you so much. We will come back, of course, but let's now go to our third panelist, which is last but not least on the list. A very warm welcome to you as well. We have with us Yorgo Chatzimarkakis, and Yorgo is our hydrogen guy, as you can also see from the background. And Yorgos is currently the Secretary General of Hydrogen Europe. Before that, Yorgos was in the European Parliament, and there you were really instrumental in setting up the first and second partnerships on fuel cell and hydrogen. And I understood, Yorgos, that as a little boy, you already developed a passion for hydrogen by reading a book, which I now put on my list for my summer reading. It is called, for the interested German speakers among us, Im Anfang war der Wasserstoff. And this is a book by Hoymar von Dietfurt. So this is definitely something that I will take to the beach with me this summer. But Yorgos, apart from being the hydrogen guy, I also understand that you are a father of 4 beautiful daughters, and that you're really passionate to make a sustainable and clean future for your daughters, that you're driving them around in Brussels in a hydrogen-fueled car, and that you also love gardening, and there you're looking for green hydrogen-powered fertilizers. So this is just amazing that, you know, everything in your life is so hydrogen-focused. So very much looking forward to hearing from you what you see is the main aim and role of the hydrogen partnership, and why this partnership is so important for Europe at this moment in time.
Many thanks, Rosalinde. And yes, indeed, this book, Im Anfang war der Wasserstoff, in the beginning there was hydrogen, was written in the 70s, and Hoymar von Dietfurt predicted already this climate changes. He was a very renowned and well-known guy in German TV. So thanks very much for this invitation. I think with this prediction, we see that now we come closer to the implementation. The European Green Deal helps us, the Paris Agreement pressures us, and also do some political projections. The Commission comes up with a Fit for 55 package, but also some constitutional courts, like in Germany, that say, oh, you need to go even further. So the Germans want to be -65 already until 2030, and that's very challenging. So what you need in this situation is a hero. You need a hero net zero, and if you write hero with H2, you can imagine what we have in mind. We believe that hydrogen is indeed a hero which can do all these different tasks because it's dispatchable. You need much more renewable energy that you have to retrieve globally, because we Europeans, we are good in the south with sun, we are good in the north with wind, but there are regions in the world like North Africa, the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, where you can produce much, much more. And that's the good thing with hydrogen. You can produce it in that regions, and then it's dispatchable, bring it to our regions cheaply by using existing pipeline systems. And that it allows then to have not only an energy transition, but also a mobility industry transition. And mobility plays a very, very important role. Many people think hydrogen is connected only to mobility. Indeed, it's connected. We have cars, as you described, and we believe that also the circularity aspect that you alluded to is super important. I like very much what Stefan just said about the system. And here is the big asset of hydrogen. If you look at system efficiency, encompassing also the material, critical material efficiency, encompassing cost efficiency and energy efficiency, you will be surprised that this makes the zero emission mobility affordable. And that's very, very important for the citizens, because they want to continue their way of life to be free. The partnership existing now nearly 15 years has helped very much in creating zero emission buses, zero emission truck and zero emission cars, and of course the infrastructure, the fueling stations. So we want to build up on that, continue and work together with the other partnerships, together with the other zero emission technologies, to find the right place for each technology in the whole system. Thanks very much.
That's really great, Joris. Thank you so much for this inspiration, and also very nice to hear that Germany has even stepped up the level of ambition. And indeed, we need heroes, maybe more than one, and very good to hear also that that you know the idea of working together to see where we can really find the synergies will be very important for this transition. So let me go back to Idel, because Idel, you mentioned the value chain approach for the batteries. And I would like to know from you, what are you doing actually in your partnership to involve all stakeholders? Because as you know, for Horizon Europe, the notion of openness is really extremely important, because we really feel that we need to work together in order to deliver on our very important ambitions. So what is the partnership doing for involving the stakeholders, and what can we expect from the partnership in the foreseeable future?
Well, the first thing we are doing really is looking at, of course, taking the value chain approach and making sure that we are looking at engaging members across the entire value chain. And this is also in the working groups, in the way we're structuring our efforts. So I think that's a very, very important. And we're also looking at it geographically in Europe, because there are many areas that are strong in different parts of the value chain, and to engage each of these. As I said, currently we have 165 members, and it has a good geographical coverage. We are also engaging very strongly, and we have very strong ties with other battery initiatives in Europe. The European battery initiatives evolved quite quickly. There's quite a few of them within the last few years, but really we are bringing them together and bringing this group together to ensure we have discussion. So for example, I am also deeply involved in the technical work of the Batteries Europe ETIP, where I'm helping to create the connection there. We also have in the partnership connections with the Battery 2030 Plus initiative, which is very important, and the IPCEIs. There are 2 IPCEIs on batteries that have been set up, and we are ensuring that we have collaboration and we're not duplicating efforts there. But we're taking input from all these different initiatives and ensuring that we are listening to what is happening, also to the current state of the KPIs, how they're developing and how things are moving along. The other thing is we have opened, as I mentioned, dialogues to other partnerships, which is quite important. And this is also in our development of our KPIs, because we need to understand what is it going to be needed by the different industries. What does the automotive, what does the waterborne technology, aviation, what do all these technologies need? Another thing we're very open to is also looking at the development of hybrid systems, because of course there will be places where batteries are essential, there will be places where hydrogen is really fulfilling the correct requirements, but there is also a space there where there will be very good options when it comes to hybridization. So with these different aspects and with integrating and having discussions with these different groups, and not just discussions, but actually creating the research agenda, we are indeed really specifically focusing and identifying what needs to be done.
Excellent. Thank you so much for these clarifications, and I'm sure that the partnership will be very good in pulling, all the relevant stakeholders together, and I think that's a very important role for the partnership there. I would like to go back to Stefan, because you mentioned, Stefan, about the affordability, how important this is for the citizens, and that we need these technological improvements still. So I'm wondering, what do you see currently as the main technological bottlenecks, and what kind of concrete results can we expect as citizens to see on our European roads by 2030, in your view?
Rosalinde, thank you. So you mentioned the most important bottlenecks. The one bottleneck is the price. The second bottleneck is the range. If you're talking about battery electric vehicles, for hydrogen vehicles, this is not an issue. The range is linked with the battery size, and this is linked with the price. So price and range for sure is a bottleneck. And the charging infrastructure. No one will buy a battery electric vehicle if you do not know where to charge it and how to charge it. So the charging infrastructure, and this is really the boundary condition for battery electric vehicles, to have the charging infrastructure. And here we need the public charging infrastructure and the private charging infrastructure. It's absolutely needed, and there is no alternative to this. What can we deliver as a partnership? Here we need to be fair. When you look at our budget, you can say it's a big budget. It's more than 600 million euros for 7 years. It's a big budget. On the other side, it's an absolutely small budget. If you compare it with the budget for research and innovation from the automotive industry each year, around about 60 billion, you can see that automotive industry has around about 1,000 times more budget for research and innovation in the same period. So we need to be fair. What can we deliver and what not? But we can deliver something. And what we can deliver is to organize the research community, to align the research community, to bring together different stakeholders, and this was also mentioned before, different stakeholders from the automotive industry, from the energy sector, from the infrastructure, researchers from universities and institutes, with SMEs, with companies, with industrial players, and we can align them to go into the same direction and to organize a pre-competitive research program. And this is a valid point, a valid contribution. Maybe it is not what some people would like to see. They would see that with this small partnership, now we can change the world. No, we cannot. But we can contribute. And therefore, we are absolutely happy to have this partnership, together with the European Commission. The focus on this partnership, the funding of this partnership are the zero emission technologies, and that's fine. We need more technologies, but it's fine that here we focus on the battery electric and the hydrogen electric fuel cell vehicles. So we can deliver. We cannot change the whole world, but we will deliver, Rosalinde.
Thank you, Stefan, also for this sense of realism as well. But as you say, the importance of bringing together the different communities to align the strategic agendas. I think if we all join forces, then we can all be heroes together. So let's move to Yorgos, because Yorgos, I saw that your organization made a very interesting statement, a prediction for the future, basically predicting that by 2030 there will be 100,000 trucks on the European roads running on hydrogen, and that these trucks will be supported by 1,500 hydrogen refueling stations. So this is really quite a very interesting vision and ambition. So I wanted to ask you, Jorgos, how realistic is this? And what will the partnership be doing to achieve this goal?
Well, first of all, it is realistic if we start immediately. And also, we talked a lot about togetherness here. And I think this is one of the crucial keywords because too often there are announcements of people saying, no, we only go for fuel cells. No, we only go for batteries. There is not only room and space for both, there is a need for both. That's one of the preconditions to really to accept and to respect each other in the respective niche. I say it clearly, and that's why we talk about trucks. It does not make sense in our view to go for battery trucks for long haul, because you need for 100 kilometers a battery of 1 ton. So if you have a normal range of 600 to 800, well, that's already 6 to 8 tons that you carry just around in order to. That doesn't make sense, and there are still people. Stefan knows the CEO of Volkswagen very well, Mr. Dies, who announces this continuously, also with some fake news and fake facts. And of course, you can understand we don't like it because the guy is very influential. However, it is super important to start now, to stop campaigns against each other, to start now to implement. Yesterday, we had elections for a new board, and the CEO of one of the companies running trucks with hydrogen, Iveco, the CEO has been elected with a with a wonderful result into our board. And that shows that the strategies that the whole sector will go for now are basically focused on heavy duty, so the hard to abate sectors within mobility. Trucks are this one. And I can explain what the partnership can bring here. First of all, the existing partnership was absolutely instrumental to create the first truck. So in this, I would say we changed already the world, because trucks are possible, and Rosalinde Duff, so Dutch engineers, played a fundamental role in building this up. We know it works. Now we have the choice between different technologies to refuel it. We have two different concepts. One is the concept with gaseous hydrogen with high pressure, 700 bar, and the other one is liquid hydrogen. That gives you, it's more dense, it's safe, it's but you need to store this liquid hydrogen, and you need to keep it cool. There's plenty of room for innovation here to explain how to keep it cool even longer, because liquid hydrogen is minus 252 degrees. And that makes sense to think about it. Also, we want to keep on a very low level the critical raw material that are used. Compared with the charging infrastructure for electrical vehicles, if you compare it, the hydrogen refueling stations do need not very much of critical raw material. The normal ones, but critical ones are not needed. However, we are now somehow at the beginning of understanding how is it to build from a small refueling station that I use to refuel my car to go to a big one for up to 20, 30, 50 trucks per day. That's a factor of 10 in growth, in scaling up. This needs lots of innovation. And that's where we need this partnership. Also, we need to understand how to combine our refueling stations with the charging infrastructure of electrical vehicles. And this interaction is crucial for us Europeans to become global heroes and to show the world how it works. I think it is doable, but we really need, again, to respect each other and to start very, very soon. And I think we do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for really showing how these vision, these milestones can be turned into reality if we start working together now. And I also very much like the fact for the refueling stations that there you're also seeing, you know, the synergies also with the other partnerships. So I have still many questions for you, but let's see if there's also questions coming in through the chat. Because I also want to see if the audience wants to ask you a question. I saw a question on the, let me see. I'm just looking at another tool? Yes, here. I have a question I see for Ido. This is, when do you expect to see solid-state batteries in the marketplace, and will the Europeans be leaders in this battery technology? Ido, would you like to comment on that question?
Firstly, when exactly we expect to see them in the marketplace, I think it's going to be beyond 5 years, but at the same time, because while there's developments in the actual materials and we are seeing them coming online, or we are seeing them developed, there also needs to be significant developments in the manufacturing technology. So you can't just stop at kind of your prototype level, you have to develop the manufacturing technology. When we talk about solid state chemistry, we're not really just talking about one chemistry, because there's generation 1 and generation 2 solid state. So these are quite different in this aspect. But for the generation 2, which we would say it's kind of the advanced solid state, we do expect quite some considerable work that is needed to be done to really accelerate this development. But this is also why we have calls that are specifically targeted at the developing of the solid state materials, but also the manufacturing. And the manufacturing is an area that has been, I would say, somewhat neglected earlier, but there is a strong focus on really working on that now. And this is where Europe could have a significant lead in the manufacturing of the solid state technology.
Excellent. Thank you very much. In the meantime, we try to also display the questions on screen so you can see them. I have them in another application as well. There was another question that was picked up by a joint work that was already mentioned on setting performance targets for automotive applications, including environmental aspects such as the LCA, the life cycle analysis. I don't know whether maybe Stefan, you want to comment on that one?
Yes, thank you very much. So in the past, we had been very much focused on the energy efficiency of the vehicle in the use phase. But this is not enough, because we have to produce the vehicle, we have to use it, this is the use phase, and we have to deal with it when it's when use phase is over. So the circular economy life cycle. And we need infrastructure, and Jorgo just mentioned it. We need the infrastructure. And to find the right solution for a specific use case or for a specific area where you have a specific existing infrastructure, it is not so easy. It's not so easy. And therefore, we are really fans of having a neutral look at the different technologies. There is not the one and only technology. And Jorgo, you mentioned it absolutely clearly. And we are quite convinced that where there is room and there is need for many, many different technologies. Yes, the battery electric vehicle will be the most important for passenger cars. Yes, the hydrogen fuel cell vehicles will be maybe the most important solution for commercial vehicles and heavy duty, but there are many overlaps. And there are many other technologies which are useful, which are helpful, and which are bringing us to climate neutral road transport, or a step forward, like plug-in hybrid, like renewable fuels, like combustion, direct combustion from hydrogen, whatever. Not all of them are covered by this partnership. That's okay, but we need to accept that there is. We cannot have an ideologic point of view, an ideologic view on solving this big challenge, the climate neutral road transport. We have to act as engineers, we have to act in a sustainable way. And Rosalinda, you mentioned it, in my spare time, I'm used to work in the forest. And here I learned that for sustainability, you have to think in decades. Sometimes you have to act very, very soon. But in general, you have to think in decades, and you have to respect the whole system. And the whole system is much more complicated than only one part of the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. That's beautifully spoken, and also links back to what Idil said in the beginning, that we need both this short-term and long-term perspective. I would like to take one more question, and I'll take the one for Jorgos. That is a question on society seems to be afraid of the hydrogen technology. What needs to happen that this changes?
Yeah, we have seen that with many technologies where people, of course, remember the mobile telephony, where people were at the beginning saying, no, we don't like it. And now they deliver their data as if there would be nothing bad about it. So people need to get acquainted with it. I always see people standing around my car and what is this hydrogen? And once they understand how it works, the fear goes away. But that's also a joint approach. I come back, I like very much what Stefan just said about this system approach and this stop ideologies. The ideologies are basically causing fear, causing anxieties with people. We need to stop that. We need to understand this -65 that the German Constitutional Court and the German government have now concluded for this highly industrialized country. This is such a big challenge, such a big move that people need to understand. If we want to go there, we need to take hard measures. And this is why we need also, as political bubble, to explain that to people. But I take up this life cycle analysis issue. We need also to explain how important it is to see all aspects. Of course, there is always a danger. Even if you use a knife, there is a danger. You can do wonderful things with a knife and very bad things. So we need safety standards, we have them, but we need also to explain that these technologies, battery, but also hydrogen especially, lead to saving jobs in affected areas. We have a lot of regions in Europe where the Green Deal might kill the jobs, or if we do it good and if we do it in a way that is consistent, it will save the jobs. It will make jobs, existing jobs, basically from brownfield to greenfield. And this is something we need to take care of. We need to see where we can invest into brownfield and to change this job. We at the hydrogen industries, we really look to this. We don't want to build up new factories, new gigafactories. We want to transform existing factories into zero emission technology factories. It works in most of the cases, and we take care of this. And that, of course, in the end, convinces also people to say, hey, it's not only bad, it's not only good for the climate, it's good for my job. So there must be something good in it. And this is how we need to communicate better all together and not against each other, but together with each other. Thank you.
Excellent, Jorgos. Thank you so much for raising this. And I think Idil mentioned it at the beginning as well. I mean, we are not only talking about sustainability, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we're also talking about reinforcing Europe's competitiveness and creating growth and jobs. I think this is very important. And indeed, thank you also for underlining that in doing this, we need to work very closely together. I mean, I could talk to you for many more hours and hours. I find this discussion extremely interesting and stimulating. Unfortunately, we are slowly coming to an end. And I would like to ask our audience to go back to the initial question that was put to you in the beginning of this session. So what do you think is the biggest challenge towards achieving clean road transport by 2030? Having listened to our panelists, it would be very interesting to see if you've changed your mind or not. So if you audience, please could type what you see as the biggest challenge for achieving the clean road transport by 2030, then we can compare the results to see if our panelists have either reconfirmed or changed your mind. And while this is happening, I would like to go back to our three panelists for the last 3 words. And my question to all 3 of you would be, if in 3 words you can express your key wish on what will happen to put Europe on the right track for a clean road transport in the future, what would be your wish that you would like to express for this to happen in 3 words? I don't know whether I have any volunteers who want to go first with the last 3 words. Jorgo, you can go first, please.
Well, I think the three words would be smart system integration.
Excellent. Thank you. Then Stefan.
My last three words would be competition of technologies.
Competition of technologies. Thank you. And Ido.
I think my focus words are cooperation, sustainability, and continuity. We must have a continuous effort. We must make this happen.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. You were really an amazing panel and an amazing audience. And you make my life really very much easier, because I think with the keywords that you've said, you've basically said it all. I also see in the audience that, okay, the affordability, the price, and the mindset are still there, featuring very high on the minds of our audience, but also the charging infrastructure. So I think this has been a very, very interesting session. I'm very inspired, and I'm also very confident to hear and listen to all of you. I think we are very much aligned with a very clear vision for the European Union. I also think there's a lot of willingness to cooperate together to see where we can really maximize the efficiencies. So I'm very, very confident that we are on the right track. So that would be for me the conclusion of this session. Thank you all very much for participating. It was a real pleasure, and I hope that we will be seeing each other again, maybe also in real life one day, and that we can continue this very interesting conversation. Thank you so much. Continue to enjoy the R&I days. We have very interesting program, and hope to see you all very soon. Thank you very much.